Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. The last lecture ended up a discussion on the two-dimensional convection diffusion equation, and we saw how we can discretize the governing equation using the finite volume method. In the lecture today, we would be coding the same problem using MATLAB, which is pretty much what we have been doing so far in the course. First we understand how to discretize it on the paper, and then we use the discretized version and put it in MATLAB. So by the end of today, you would have understood how to use MATLAB to code for the two-dimensional convection diffusion case. So far, we have looked at the diffusion and now at the convection diffusion equations. And by the end of the lecture today, we would be finishing up all the necessary ingredients for the Navier-Stokes equation, which is why I am here for this particular course, so that at some point you can solve the Navier-Stokes equation. Since this lecture would also mark the end of the necessary prerequisites, I want to make sure that you guys can understand and easily go through all the content so far. So in case if any one of you is having any sort of questions, I would be hosting a live session where I would be taking on your questions and all your doubts. So if you can, please join me in the live session on Tuesday, 3rd of November on 10 p.m. Indian time. Also, in case if you want to ponder on more literature of CFD or of MATLAB, I have put some books in the description of this video so that you can go and have a look by yourself. So without wasting any further time, let's dive into the video for today. So in the last lecture, we had started with a problem that had a square domain of size 1 by 1, and we had a variable called t, which was fixed to be 1 or unity at the top and the left face, while we set a boundary condition of t equals to 0 on the right and the bottom face. And we took in further assumptions that in our governing equation, which is written here, we assume that u and v were both equals to 1, and we said that we can change the value of gamma so that we can also change our Peclet number. So I'll show you what that means in just a little bit. So when we discretize this particular equation, the discretization was of the form that is shown here in this red square, and we want to evaluate Tp as always. So first, what we would do is we would calculate these coefficients, that is AE, AW, AN and AS, and after that we would calculate Tp based on this particular form of governing equation. So first I'll show you how the central differencing scheme works for this case, and I'll also show you what are the limitations of that, and after that I'll jump into the upwind scheme, for which we haven't done the coding yet in this course. So let me show you the code for the central differencing part. So first 3 lines are always the same. We start with clearing all the variables, close all the window and clean the command window. After that, we want to define the problem domain. So we said that there are a total of 101 points, just as a symbolic representation. We said that the total domain length is 1, and that means the grid spacing is 1 divided by 100. And these two variables x and y are simply the x and y coordinate of those one-dimensional arrays. So this part has been pretty much the same in all the MATLAB codes that I have shown to you so far. So I hope that wouldn't come to you as a surprise. So the problem initialization is also the same as the problem boundary condition here. So we want to define that. So let me go back to one note here. So because the MATLAB starts the indexing from the top left corner, so we want to define that the first row is 1, and we want to define that the first column is also 1. So what we say there, that 1, so for the variable t, the first row, and this particular statement here, it defines it for all the columns, and that we assign it to be 1. So remember that in a two-dimensional matrix, the first index, it corresponds to the row, In the second index, it corresponds to the column. So when we want to define that the entire first row is 1, we said that take the first row and take all the columns corresponding to that first row, and what that does is it considers the entire first row that way. So we are saying that the first row is 1, and we did the exactly opposite in this particular line. We said that all the rows corresponding to the first column is also 1. So in that way we made the first row and the first column being 1, and if you remember, if we haven't already initialized anything else, that means that all these other elements here, they are assigned to be 0, which is also the boundary condition for this right and the bottom boundary. And we also use the same exact line of code for a variable called tnew, which we would be using for the iterative process. Then we define this row u and v being equals to 1. In the governing equation here, I've already assumed that row is equal to 1, so you may neglect it, but that's optional as well. So after defining u and v equals to 1, we say that the gamma is 0.01 to start with. And another important thing is I'm defining Piclet number based on the grid spacing. So previously we had defined Piclet number based on the entire domain length or the height, but here I am defining the Piclet number based on the grid spacing, and I'll show you very shortly why I am doing this, because there is a computational or a physical reasoning behind that particular description. And after that we start the solution procedure. So this particular section is an extension of the one-dimensional case, but I'll still go through all of these lines here. So we start with the error being 1, so that we can get into the loop here. We call the iterations being 0, and we say that while the error is greater than 10 to the power minus 7, these two for loops, it indicates for all the interior points. And we want to imbibe this particular equation into our solution here. So first we calculate these AE, AW, AN and AS, that is the neighboring coefficients for all the points, and we saw that these particular line of code lines here, that's what we would be doing in the MATLAB as well. So the AE is given as gamma minus rho times u times h divided by 2, while the AW is given as gamma plus rho times u times h divided by 2. So the gamma here is the diffusion coefficient, and where the rho u is equal to 1, but since we want to generalize the problem and not really want to hard code anything in the MATLAB code, that is why we have given these variables their original names here, and we have initialized some numbers there, so that in case you want to change the value of any particular variable, you can do it in the initialization section and not in the hard coded section if you do that. And once we define all these neighboring coefficient, we can also define the AP, which is the coefficient for the point P. So the AP in the two-dimensional case, it's a slightly bigger expression that is given here, because it takes into account all the advective fluxes, which are the first 4, and all the diffusive fluxes. And after that we can get the tnew as AE times TE, which is TI plus 1 comma j. So let me go back to my grid. So if this is I comma j, this would be TI plus 1 comma j, this would be TI minus 1 comma j. The south point would be TI j plus 1, just because the MATLAB starts from 1 comma 1 in the top left direction. So vertically downwards is the positive direction. So you'll see that whenever I have AS, I am multiplying it with by j plus 1, and I am multiplying AN with TI j minus 1. So once I do that, that brings me to the end of the calculation for the discretization equation, and after that I say that I have done one iteration. Then I calculate the error using the same procedure that we have been using since the first lecture, that it's the absolute value of the difference between the old and the new value. After we do that, we assign that the new variable to be equals to the old variable, so that we can do the discretization iteration again in case if the error is not smaller than 10 to the power minus 7. The next thing that I do is I plot the entire two-dimensional solution, and we use this same command called as contour F that plots the, so we have this XY plane, and the contour F, it plots the contour representation or the contour variation of the variable t over this XY domain. So in one-dimensional cases, we use the plot command to check that variation, but in 2D cases, we want to see the contour plots of the variations. So we define this X domain and Y domain exactly the same way that we defined for the previous 2D cases, and then we created a grid so that we can convert those 1D arrays into a 2D grid, and then we plot the contours of the variable called as t, and this number 50 indicates the contour levels. And the last bit of code here is to plot the center line temperature. So I'll go back to the notebook here, and this green dashed line, it indicates the center line in our problem statement. So because we have 1 on the top and the left boundary and 0 on the bottom and the right boundary, so this center line temperature variation becomes important when we have a very high value of Piclet number or very small value of this gamma. Physically it means that we have almost zero diffusion in the problem, and when that is the case, we expect that there is a very sharp change in the temperature at the center line, or equivalently, if I plot temperature as a function of y, we would expect that the temperature is almost zero all the way up to height being 0.5, and then there would be a sudden jump at y equals to 0.5 from t equals to 0 to t equals to 1. And we want to see that whether the numerical schemes that we use, can they predict this particular jump, and this would go back to defining the Piclet number based on the grid spacing. So I want to show you that not all the numerical schemes, they can handle these high values of Piclet number, as we shall see very shortly. So I'll first run the code for a gamma equals to 0.01. So I'll run the code all together, all at once. First, I want to show you that the Piclet number here is 1. So when the Piclet number is 1, we see that the temperature, it varies. We see some diffusion here, so ideally it should be a very sharp jump only when the diffusion is very low. But Piclet number 1 implies that there is some diffusion, which you see here is this curved profile, and we also see some kind of variation in the color map here or the contour here. Now, if I reduce the gamma, or if I increase the Piclet number all the way up to 2, so we have the Piclet number of 2, and we see that the temperature profile, it gets lesser diffused, as we shall expect also, because the Piclet number, a higher Piclet number implies less diffusion in the problem. So far everything is okay, but the problem arises when I reduce it further. So now I have reduced it to 4, and what happens here is that the solution gets to be unstable, as you can see by these high numbers here, or equivalently by this error approaching the not a number. So that shows that the center differencing scheme is alright, but only for the low values of Piclet number, and it doesn't really act up very well when there is very low diffusion in the problem. So when we go for a high convection, I'm just trying to say that in other words, when the Piclet number is very high, it means that we have more convection than the diffusion. So in that case, the central differencing is not able to capture the variations very well, and that is why we saw this burst in the numerical scheme. So now I'll show you how the upwind scheme is sort of able to catch up with that, because the upwind scheme, it takes into account the flow as well, because the central differencing, it doesn't really care about the flow direction or the flow magnitude, but the central differencing, it takes into account the flow pattern as well, and the corresponding coefficients are also altered because of that inclusion. So just to give you a recap, when we talked about the upwind scheme, so we had the upwind scheme here, and we said that when the flow is from left to right, we said that the phi at this control volume phase, it would become equals to phi p, and when the flow would be the other way around, the phi or the t at small e would become equals to t at capital E, and correspondingly we would see some changes in the convection fluxes, that is this Fe times phi E, or equivalently in our 2D case we had these particular terms. So this Te would, because we have a positive velocity, so this Te would become equals to T capital P, while this T small w, it would become equal to T capital W, and accordingly these coefficients would be modified. So I'll not go into the discussion on how these individual coefficients would be changed. I left that as an exercise for you, and I hope that you did that. So I'll talk about the changes that the upwind scheme would be bringing into the code and also into the corresponding results. For the upwind scheme, we have the entire same code until here, and we only have the corresponding changes in these coefficients. So the coefficient for the western and the southern point, it remains the same, but we change the value of AE and AN because of the inclusion of the flow direction, and also we change the value of AP. Rest everything is the same. So now we have modified some of the coefficients, and the rest of the code is left untouched, and we want to see what happens for low as well as high value of Piclet numbers. So let's start with a lower value first. So let's start with a 0.01 gamma, which indicates a Piclet number of 1, and we saw that this scheme would give us a diffusive profile because we expect some diffusion here. Now let us go directly to the elephant in the room, which was the Piclet number of 2 or more than that. So this is a Piclet number of 2, which the central differencing was able to handle well, and if I increase it further, or actually we reduce it to 0.0025 or a Piclet number of 4, we saw that the central differencing was not able to capture it, but the upwind scheme does handle it very well. And you can have the same thing if you keep going higher. So just when you go for a higher value of Piclet number, you would see that the diffusion in this profile, it would become less and less, but the upwind scheme, because it's accurate up to a certain extent, so you'll not see a very sharply changing profile. Or if equivalently, if you really want to see that sharp change because of very low diffusion in the problem domain, you have to use a higher order accurate scheme such as a quick scheme. So if you're really curious, I can leave that as an assignment for you, and I can assure you that if you have written the codes right, you would see a very sharp change in the quick scheme, even for a very lesser number of points. I have personally seen that to obtain a similar sort of solutions, upwind scheme literally takes less than 4 times lesser number of points corresponding to the same solution for a upwind scheme. So you can try writing the code for a quick scheme based on the 2 codes that I've shown you for the central differencing and the upwind scheme. So hopefully you are able to get an understanding of the convection diffusion problem with both of these schemes. Try doing some coding by yourself if you haven't already started doing so, and in case if you are having any questions up to this particular point, please attend the doubt session so that I can address your queries, because after that we would be taking a leap into the Navier-Stokes equation, and these fundamentals would be very much required to understand what's going on there. because I won't be talking that elaborately about the finite volume, the finite differences, or the general discretization process. So I would be expecting that now you would be a little bit better than the beginners in the CFD. So you can understand if I write the discretization of a small equation at that particular time. So the next session would be the Dow's session, and after that we would talk about the solution of the Navier-Stokes equation. So in case if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel so that you can stay updated to the latest videos, and I'll see you very shortly. Take care.